Hi everyone, just another one today, one that comes up all the time on the website. Alright, the poor little three-way fridge, okay, probably the most cursed item in the camper. I guess today I'm really not sure, but most people are in a big hurry nowadays, okay, in I don't know, the world of immediate gratification. I don't know, I'm not sure. We'll talk about some of the the drawbacks, I suppose, or some of the positives as well of the little three-way fridge. One thing's for sure, alright, the main thing is they do their best work on gas, alright. So gas is the best thing for it. It's quicker, righto. You don't need to be on a powered site, so they're the good things about gas, okay. But obviously you've got to run use gas, okay, which obviously then costs you money, I suppose, even though gas isn't that expensive with the swap and go and all that. So as I said, they do their best work on gas, right? So gas is the best way. Now, pre-cooling before you go, obviously if you're going to run on gas, then you got to lift the roof, all right, to allow the excess heat to dissipate. Now, I've got an older model camper, and it still has the top vent, all right, and that's all well and good when the camper was sold. Now, when I go to sell the camper, all right, because of the new gas regulations, I have to put a seal over this, okay? So I'll just get a strip of aluminium or whatever, and I'll have to seal that, otherwise I won't get a gas certificate. But in the meantime, that can stay. Alright? Now, if the beds are rolled in, alright, so you worry about, this sort of scenario, alright, curtains, okay, that sort of stuff. With the bed end in, the only thing above that vent is actually the timber that's on the bottom of the bed, okay. So I can quite easily just pop the roof up, just to allow some more circulation, and the only thing that's on there is, like I said, is the bottom of the bed, alright, not this stuff here, because the bed end slid in. Now if I was going to cool it down today, alright, then obviously I just make sure there's nothing on top of it, alright, and as you can see, the roof's slightly up, okay. Now, just my opinion, or whether it's coincidence, funny enough, when the gas regulations changed and this vent was taken away, that's about the time that the fan mod started, right? Funny enough, okay. So people have had to put fans in there for more circulation, mainly because this vent here was taken away. Now people say, oh, but I don't want that vent there because the gas is going to come into the camper. Well, gas is heavier than air, and it's actually, if you have a leak, the gas is going to go, yeah, you might smell it, but the gas goes, it falls, all right, and goes out the bottom vent on the exterior, all right. Gas cannot go upwards, all right. Yes, they produce a little bit of heat, but that's a good thing for the fridge, all right. So the fridges do suffer from poor circulation, okay, or poor venting, and when they took that vent away, that really restricted the ventilation, all right. It needs air to move around the back of the fridge, all right, to make it more efficient, all right. Otherwise it heats up and then it suffers. Another thing to take note of, I don't know how many people have read it, I suppose, but there's a little sticker on the inside here, and there's a lot of information on there, and just one there, 230 to 240 volts, 0.7 of an amp, okay, that's what it's drawing, right, 175 watts there, or basically what it needs, okay. The main thing to take note of, 12 volt, 15 amps, holy crap, alright, that's a lot, alright, and we'll talk about that a bit later. The other one to take note of is climate class. See that? ST. basic standard. Alright. Now you get different climate class ratings. The one we're interested in is in Australia, I suppose, with our climate, is either standard, which is basically what comes with a camper, but you can get a tropical model. And what that means is the fridge will put up with more ambient temperature if it's a tropical model. So the hotter it is outside, the better the fridge will deal with it. Alright, so if you're getting a new camper and you get that choice, obviously you have another choice now, and that is you can have the 3-way or you can put in a 2-way compressor. And obviously a few people now have pulled their old fridges out, right, or it's died, and they've gone with a compressor fridge, and that's good. I'm a massive fan of compressor fridges. Right, I have 2 Jaycos, 2 50-litre Jaycos. So what do you lose with a compressor fridge? Well, you lose the capability to run on gas. Okay, now if you only go to powered sites, just my opinion, right, if you only go to powered sites, compressor fridge all the way. Alright, if you do a bit of a mix or you're a free camper, the thing to remember with a compressor fridge is it's not just going to cost you the fridge, which are around $1,300, but if you free camp, okay, that little compressor fridge is also going to cost you another battery. Alright, so you got 200 amp hours of batteries now, and it's also going to cost you solar. You need some solar to top up your batteries. Alright, so just bear that in mind. But if you only go to powered sites, yeah, compressor fridge, yeah, all the way. And obviously you lose the ability to run it on gas. So have a talk to them about it. Look at what sort of camping you do. Choose your fridge, but talk to them about that climate class. Alright, can they give you a tropical rated 3-way instead of the standard? Alright, so that's one to think about. Okay, pre-cooling. Alright, and nearly everyone's onto it now. Okay, put something in the fridge. Alright, whether it be the cold packs, whether it be the beer you've already got cold, or you know, the wine you've already got cold, if and that sort of thing. If you're going to cool it down on 240, alright, it takes time. Alright, it takes time. Now, with the top vent, I haven't had a need to put in the fan mod, and I haven't had any real problems actually with my fridge. But if you're going to cool down on 240, then you have to wait. Alright, it's going to take time. The first sign you'll get is a little bit of warmth on the outside, if you don't have a top vent, okay, or stick your hand in the freezer, alright, if you feel it getting cold, you're away. Okay, but the main thing is if you're trying to cool it down, you need to take up space and get rid of some of the air, the void inside the fridge to help the fridge out. Setting, always set mine on 4, whether it be gas or 240. I'm rarely on 240. I generally like to cool down on gas because it's quicker. Get the fridge up to speed and then switch over to 240, and that'll speed up the process as well. Avoid the urge to turn it up flat stick, because all that happens is in the back of the fridge, and don't quote me on it, or I don't pretend to know the ins and outs of it. There is a couple of guys on the site though, they're right into it, and they understand completely, right, how the fridge works. But you turn it up flat out, and all that happens is basically the refrigerant gets that hot that the fridge can't compensate with its ventilation, and all that ends up occurring is it actually slows the process rather than quicken it. So avoid the urge of turning up flat out. Alright, it's not a compressor fridge, so it's not the way it works. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll go out and we'll talk about some other stuff that's on the outside. Okay, so we're on the outside now. I've just taken the bottom vent off. Alright, and not really much to look at, to be honest. take note and have a look at the size. And I've got pretty small hands, I'm not a big bloke. The size of the wire. Alright. That wire is not going to carry a lot of amps. And we already looked at the 12 volt with the 15 amp. Alright, that's a massive draw. Okay. So the way I compensate is I actually cheat a little bit, and I hedge my bets. So I go 2-way and 3-way. So 150 litre Jayco rides in the back on the floor, hooked up to the 12 volt, which is running off the battery. And I don't even have this fridge running when I travel. That's just the way I do it. However, you might want to run on 12 volt, okay, because you don't want to go and buy a car fridge, or you don't want to pull a perfectly good fridge out and put in a 2-way. So let's look at something else. So let's say you want to run the fridge on 12 volt while you're traveling. Now 12 volt on the fridges is only designed to charge while you're traveling, so the alternator can charge the crank battery, which you're drawing off, right, while you're driving, right. A standalone battery, alright, and don't go too hard on me, but it won't last an hour, right, without that battery being topped up. As we've already seen, the fridge sucks up to 15 amp on 12 volt, alright, so you can do the maths on that one. You already saw the size of the wiring in the back of the fridge. Alright. The chances, now I've got a 7-pin, most of the vans come out with 12-pin now, but that's neither here nor there. Alright, and you see the size of those pins, okay, they pretty much match the size of that wiring in there. Now don't forget that wiring inside the sheath, so the actual wire is smaller again, although it's not the size of the sheath. Alright. So the chances of you getting 15 amps to that fridge through those wires is pretty slim. Now the catch cry goes, oh, it's only meant to hold temperature, right, not to cool it down, right. To me, that's a bit of a cop out. Alright, the fridge through the 12 volt can do a lot more than that if it gets fed enough amps. Alright, so there's the little trailer plug. Now some people, right, they don't have a problem. They say, no, mine runs fine on 12 volt. Okay. Now a lot of those people, alright, and I've checked out a couple, alright, live in the southern states, and you know what, they'll probably get away with it. But summertime it always rears its head. Okay. Now, what you could do is run a larger cable, alright, capable of carrying a lot more volts, a lot more amps. Alright, so that's 6 BNS cable or 6 mil squared, alright, which is the actual size of the cable that's carrying the power, alright, not the whole thing. It can be very confusing when you talk about electrical cables, alright, because you get all different measurements. Some will say, yeah, mine's 6 millimeters, but if you research it a bit more, the 6 millimeters is including the insulation, alright, so that's not 6 millimeters of wire, that's the whole thing, alright. So there's a big difference between millimeters and then millimeters squared, okay, and BNS. Alright, yeah, I know. It can be confusing. Now if you look at any big van, okay, full size vans, most of them, right, you'll see a trailer plug and you'll see an Anderson plug. That Anderson plug, 9 times out of 10, is going to their fridge. Alright. Now most likely what happens is with Jayco is that there to run through that is just convenient for them and it keeps their costs down. Alright, and that's their choice. But the bigger vans you'll almost always see, okay, and some of them will be red, they'll have a red Anderson plug. Alright, and that's to run their fridge on 12 volt. Now to do that, righto, in the campers out of the factory, your fridge is not connected to the van battery. Right? It's not connected to the van battery. Alright, it is connected to this pin here. Alright, and I think it's, don't quote me, I think it's pin 2 on this one. I'm not sure on the something to ask Jayco when you get the 12 pin. Okay, because you'll need to know that, and you'll need to tell your auto elec, because your car is not automatically set up to run 12 volt to the fridge. Alright, so there's the little 7 pin. So you have to get an auto elec, righto, or if you're a auto elec or Sparky yourself, righto, you need to run a hot wire which comes off your crank battery, alright, to the correct pin to run 12 volt to your fridge through that 7 pin system. Alright, now you're going to need some sort of isolator, alright, an isolator or a fridge switch. So when the vehicle stops, okay, or the crank battery hits a certain amount of volts, usually it's about 12.7 volts, it'll cut out sending power to the fridge. Otherwise, if you haven't got that, then every time you stop for around that 20-minute mark, you're going to have to unplug this plug. Otherwise, that fridge, like I said, it wants 15 amps, it'll suck your battery dry, and then you jump in the car and the car won't start. On the other side, that's my other Anderson plug. As I said, this is my battery charging system, it's not for the fridge. Okay, I charge the battery in the camper through that big cable, alright, into a little DC to DC charger, which tops up the battery in the camper, which is running the 50 litre Jayco, which has got my food in it until I get to where I'm going, and then I flick the fridge over to gas. Alright, once it's up to speed, then if need be, I'll transfer food from the Jayco, alright, into the 3-way fridge. That gives me redundancy too. It's nice to have some other way of cooling. If something should happen to that 3-way or whatever, you've got a bit of redundancy. 2 fridges are better than 1. My other 50 litre Jayco is in the back of the ute, and that's just for drinks, alright, alcohol and cold water. Alright, so when we go on day trips and we leave the camper behind, we've got cold drinks, cheese and bickies, that's all that sort of stuff. Anyway, hopefully, like I said, this will go some way into making up your mind. And the lads out there with 2-ways, alright, this is no means, right, this is not a chuck at the 2-way, right. I'm a massive fan of the 2-way, and like I said, I'm even cheating because I'm running the 50 litre Jayco, which is basically a 2-way fridge, right, as well as the little 3-way, because when you're at the caravan park, the power, you've already paid for it, so use as much power as you want. Anyway, hopefully it clears up a few pointers. Reference the little cursed 3-way fridge. Alright, they are a good fridge. Alright, you just need to look after them, work out how they work, and so you can be a bit more sympathetic, alright, and a bit more patient with your 3-way. Alright, cheers guys.